And great, thank you. And hand over to Sebastian Lehnhoff, because as a steering committee chair, he wanted to make some announcements. Sebastian.
Yeah, therefore I need to become co-host, I think.
Yes, of course.
And I've seen that Herman has already practiced emoticons, so the party emoticon. So, okay, now I'm co-host. Yeah, everything that stands between you and this interactive format that Asta just described is me, or more precisely, the message from the steering committee, which on behalf of the steering committee, I will put forward now. So we are halfway through an exciting conference so far. And that's the classical point in the program or in the agenda where we as a steering committee, again, we did so in the welcome already, say a few things about the conference. And first things first is, again, thanks to the Torino team, but different from the welcome yesterday, this is actually halfway through. So knowing this intimately from past eEnergy conferences where I also was part of the organizing committee, I know that now is a very great point during the agenda where you start to believe that everything is probably survivable and you got grip on the glitches and everything works smoothly, and you start to believe that you will manage through and make it to the end of the conference. So again, using that point and that drive, thank you so much for putting up with a lot of work, again, that you did not sign up for because you wanted to do it on site in Turin. And well, you stuck to it, and that's really great. And on behalf of the whole steering committee, let me thank you again. You did a great job. Yeah, with that, we come to, or as great soccer players put it, after the game is in front of the game, even though soccer is currently not a good topic for us in Germany, since yesterday went not perfectly as we planned it. We are not part of the EM anymore. But we have to talk about the we will talk about the energy conference in 2022. Yeah, and first things first, a few things. Obviously, a pandemic is still ongoing and unfortunately with an unclear perspective yet. And there's not a single person in the steering committee or in the organizing committee who would have answered the question, do you want to go for a physical eEnergy conference at nice venues all over the world, potentially with the option of a beach? Or do you want to do it virtual again in 22? Who would not immediately have jumped for the first option? But as I said, unfortunately, the pandemic is still ongoing with an unclear perspective. We still have this situation where we see national travel restrictions popping up because of variants of the corona strain rampaging through nations and countries, and there is no safe forecast that this will definitely be over by next year. So, but aside from that, virtual also demonstrated that it works. It may not work the way we used we were used to, that's the word, or we expected it. Things can still be optimized. And some things we need still better solutions for. But on other terms, I think we will see the options for virtual tie-ins in the future, because in the future, some of us may not be able to travel for family, personal reasons, may not want to travel or something. So having the option, and now having in the second year, been able to see that it's actually a viable option, might not replace and be a complete or perfect substitute. We will see virtual formats in the future as well. We deeply and emotionally acknowledge that community building and preserving is a challenge with purely virtual conferences. And honestly, I don't think we as a community would have come thus far if we had to rely on virtual conferences only. So that's a challenge to make it better. Hybrid is not working yet, but honestly, we will have to make it work in the long run, because as I said, virtual is going to stay in some form, one form or the other. And that's why we are announcing the eEnergy'22 again as a virtual conference, but we will make the organization a community event. So different from calls for venues or site proposals, as we have done in the past, where a local or regional group of people step up and say, we really want to do it on site at a great venue or a location such as Turin would have been. We will make it a national community event. So again, acknowledge that we need this conference and maybe even the way towards the conference to preserve and strengthen the community. So organization will be international. In parts, we are already doing this. We relied on Rem as probably the most expert person on virtual conferences from last year to also assist us in this year. But we want to do it for basically all the organizing chair positions, and maybe novel and new ones that we need in this virtual conference format to be an international gig. Yeah, and everything will be held together by the steering committee. Realization came pretty late on my side because that actually means that I'm for now the acting general chair of the conference. I agree that's for now a good thing, probably because we have a speaker of the steering committee, but I plan to share this responsibility and maybe find someone even more eager than I am to actually take on the position. But again, the steering committee will be in charge and maybe much more than in the past, also something that all the other steering committee members probably did not sign up for and have not fully realized yet, but that will be a focal point in organizing this community. Yeah, but the last point then also is we want to experiment with this hybrid format more. So something that we discussed and that I particularly support is experimental features, for example, lightweight hubs, viewing parties, as we called them, tie-ins where national groups with access to a great room that may be available for free or very cheap, form viewing parties. We would gladly and like to support this as a steering committee. Maybe there are other options and ideas on the table. If you have ideas for, as I said, lightweight hybrid versions, don't have to apply for everyone, could be national mirrors, could be other options, approach us and we would be really happy to support this and try this out, to make hybrid better and more workable than it is actually today. Yeah, with that, that's what I wanted to present here, announce eEnergy'22. As I already said, I would have liked to announce a great beach venue for next year, because I think we have earned it after 1.5 years of Corona and virtual conferences, which have been professionally organized, and this conference is a great example for that. But I think getting out of the house and around the globe is super important to understand each other better and strengthen our community. With that, as I said, I encourage you to approach me, to approach us as the steering committee for new ideas and also hybrid options, and you will hear more from us about the options and potential services that we as a steering committee can then offer you in the upcoming weeks and months, and I'm looking forward to that. With that, I thank you all for attending and supporting us as a community. And hand back to Astrid.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. Okay, so I think we all will be very curious. We would have liked hybrid conferences working very well in the last years, I guess, but there is hope that pressure is enough now to get a good format after all this. Sonja already mentioned it in the chat. Experiments on why hybrid format might be good from a sustainability point of view. Actually, nevertheless, I would maybe be, well, I could think of nevertheless going to the same place as Omid, for example, as we never met in real time, but worked together so much. So that might be a good idea, even if hybrid changed the place for the viewing party, if possible. So that is an option as well, not go to your own party. That from a sustainability point of perspective, yeah.
By the way, Hartmut correctly pointed out that the hybrid tie-in that Prashant just demonstrated is maybe not something that we want to copy, because I think it was a phone on his lap in his car. Prashant, drive carefully, please. We need you.
Yeah, that has been very nice. I was well tempted to take a video, but I did not. We have it on the video, I guess. Okay, so very nice. Omid, I would now like to start the session for interaction. Do you have anything else, because we did not meet today, that should be said in advance?
No, I think we are just waiting for the keynote after this session. So that will be the next thing to happen. I don't know if you want to maybe have just a quick Q&A and then move on to the other activity, or you want to
that's a good idea.
The other way. Any questions for Sebastian? Let me first ask this. We have the steering committee chair here with us.
Omid, can I just take the opportunity to actually make an announcement? It's not an announcement. I would like to ask everybody to visit the sponsor channel on Slack. There's some material there that Akamai posted, and so please visit the Slack channel there. I was also making on this note on the general channel, but if you have time, give a look. It's very interesting.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Michaela. Any other questions for Sebastian? Everybody's curious for hybrid? No questions asked. Okay, then thanks again. Okay, then I would now like to start the interactive part of the session before we go to the keynote. So a good hint, Omid, do not miss the keynote. We have John Platt from Google Research with us. I think this will be a very interesting talk. But before, there's some time for interaction. And as I already pointed out, it's especially a session for our young researchers in this group. So I would again ask everybody who is part of the organization committee or steering committee or feeling senior and not driving in a car actually at the moment to put an asterisk in front of his or her name, so that our Zoom master Sebastian would then be able to put us in groups where at least one senior member with an asterisk is in and some junior members. So for these sessions now, Sebastian, maybe you can already start to prepare them. For these sessions now, you would have 20 minutes time to ask everything that you already always wanted to ask when you met, for example, Hartmut Schmeck in the elevator, or were eagerly trying to get into the elevator or near the banquet of Sebastian or Keshav or Hermann de Meer or whatever. So every questions are allowed. And if you want to get asked something about your PhD or tell something about your PhD current problems, feel free to do so. This is your time. And
maybe can I add something before everybody disappears in obscure side channels? We'll have this keynote, John Platt, and I just want to let you know that be a bit patient, because he's getting in touch with us from a retreat. and there might not be internet access or something, could be a bit slow or delayed or what have you. So just be a bit warned, right? Don't, yeah, be warned and patient. Hopefully it will work out actually. So he will talk to us from high altitude, definitely.
Okay, great. Thanks for informing us in advance, so we will be patient. Great.
I have to leave because I'll be back before the keynote.
Okay, great. Thanks for informing us.
All right, so I prepared 6 rooms, I guess. I think that's enough. And I hope it will be all right. Yeah. Should I start the record sessions now?
Yes,
Or-
please.